A woman can be beautiful. A woman can even be right and still lose if she isn't strategic. Why? Because we live in a patriarchy. Today I'm going to talk about Queen Vashti, a woman celebrated for her beauty and boldness, but also a woman whose story reminds us of something we beautiful women need to keep in mind, which is conviction about anything without strategy can cost you. And in Vashti's case, it cost her her crown. It cost her losing her position and probably access to some of the people she had access to with the downgrade in lifestyle. I don't think she lived a hard life after, but the Bible doesn't tell us anything more about her after she was stripped of her title as the Queen of Persia, the first wife of King Xerxes. But I'm going to talk a bit about her background. Vashti was born royal, raised in luxury, and surrounded by status, comfort, and power. Her beauty was well known. In many ways, this alone positioned her above other women. She held a lot of influence over them. Think about even the IG influencers, how their looks or pretty privilege enables them to sell products for brands, enable them to live a lifestyle in many instances better than women who work a regular 9 to 5. So besides looks that gave her visibility and influence, she had prestige because she was married to a king, a life women aspired to have during those times. So her story in the Bible, which is told in the book of Esther, is that during a royal banquet, the king ordered Vashti to appear and display herself before his guests, who were like princes and nobles. Vashti, though, decided she wasn't going anywhere because she was in another part of the palace hosting her own banquet for the women of the court. And this refusal was seen as defiance, and the king became angry. Not only was he embarrassed, but all these high officials were looking on. They heard his summons for Vashti to come, and the king feared that Vashti's defiance would inspire other women in the kingdom to reject male authority because, as I said, she had influence and she was looked at as an example to the other women. So he basically said, all right, stay gone from my presence, and Vashti was vanished or banished. And this is how Esther, who later becomes Queen Esther, enters the story. Vashti created the opening. So the whole Vashti story is viewed two ways. Some people see it as a woman who stood for her dignity and refused to be displayed like some object, while others feel it was a simple request, show up and be seen, then go back to your own event. But I decided to make this video because I think there's nuance in the situation, which is power is not only about saying no, it's in knowing when and how to say it. Vashti didn't just decline, she declined publicly. The king got egg splattered all over his face by someone close to him, which undermined his authority, and it was done in front of nobles and advisors and leaders from across the kingdom. And what's likely to happen when a man feels embarrassed in front of the world is his ego is bruised. So Vashti's decision didn't just challenge a man, it challenged the system, the hierarchy, and they moved swiftly to remove her. They sent a message to not only Vashti, but to all the other women in the kingdom. I'm not sure who Vashti's allies were. For someone not to whisper in her ear, maybe you should go, because she was surrounded by other women. Go show your face, then come back. She was a queen, so she may or may not have had close friends who just advised her this. But as I said before, the women who she was entertaining, who were all also higher ups in the kingdom, they woke up the next day in their privilege and in their same position. This isn't about saying she should have obeyed. I'm just saying, as beautiful as a woman might be, she needs to also have strategy. And part of having strategy is absolutely knowing it's not all about pretty privilege. Beauty without strategy costs us women. Just in everyday life, the beautiful woman living in the hood, she's still a prize because of her beauty, but she's in the hood. She's surrounded by men living in the hood, and their level of thinking to even be there isn't competitive or ambitious enough to move out of the situation. So what can they offer a beautiful woman? They can only take advantage of her. I'm thinking of this clip I saw this male nurse saying that on his graduation day, all these female nurses, legit, he watched as they were proposed to. And he questioned why these men hadn't done it before when the woman was basically pursuing her nursing degree. And it's like, what for? When he says the woman was so happy and said yes. So he's like, these men are not stupid. They're securing the bag. They secure the women, so they're securing the bag by default. If you're just beautiful or just ambitious as a woman and you don't think strategically, it's going to cost you, because it's not just about love. Men don't think that way. They're looking at how you as a woman affect their life, how you as a woman benefit their life. They're thinking beyond a moment. Sometimes, like at an engagement, we're so happy, but we also have to think beyond the moment. In Vashti's case, she didn't think beyond the moment, and she lost her crown, her position, her access, and her lifestyle. While the woman, as I said before, she once sat beside continued life in opulence. So beauty is powerful, but it's not enough to just be admired. A woman must understand the leverage of her presence. I mean, the king calling her shows how important to how he looks this woman's presence was. She gave him esteem in the eyes of the other men. Some of these other men probably viewed Vashti as a measuring stick to their own wives because she was the example of womanhood. She was the king's woman. She had beauty, she had grace, and she had position. But a lack of strategy didn't allow her to keep her influence because the king's ego took a public hit. She could have, protected her boundaries and gone on to secure even more power, because a woman's power isn't only in the moment, it's knowing how to build momentum. And what I mean is that sometimes the most feminine move is to think long term. Not every battle needs to be fought loudly. I mean, we see this with Queen Esther. For those of us who know the story, who came after Vashti. Mordecai was her enemy and wanted to destroy her people, and Esther quietly strategizes against him while he thinks the queen's inviting him to dinner because she likes him. But that's another video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to also do her story. But going back to Vashti, as women, we have to think more strategically. You can have principles and be powerful. You can be beautiful, but also be aware that beauty doesn't override everything in life. There has to be influence and timing, ladies. You must have both. Even going back to these men who proposed to these women on their graduation day, it was about them graduating from nursing school. But these slick men inserted their proposals into these women's moment, building their own momentum. That momentum to the altar. Understand strategy, ladies. When you understand it and can get a moment, you'll be able to hold onto the crown. Thank you for watching today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So let me know what you think below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to support my channel. And remember, femininity isn't about, either rebellion or compliance. It's about strategy grace, and quiet power.